Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight. You're going to have to put up with us a little bit tonight. We'll probably, whenever we get through with the presentation, one or both of us will probably share duties of reading questions and stuff. Due to that, we're still coughing, sneezing, everything you can imagine of whatever Mrs. Steve has infected me with. She's a carrier.
I am super spreader.
Super spreader. But anyway, I appreciate everyone being here tonight. And if you're new to the show, thank you for being here. And what happens is we have a short presentation. After that presentation, we'll answer any of your questions. Always be mindful and respectful of the mods, families, each other in chat. And then we'll and have a good time in chat. But anyway, with that being said, we'll get started. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Kohberger and the grand jury out of Pennsylvania. But of course, if you have any information related to the homicides of Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana, absolutely make sure law enforcement has that information for the for the fact that we absolutely have to do everything we can to make sure that justice is found for them. As I was doing some research about the grand jury in Pennsylvania, of course, there's a lot of information coming up. Why is this happening? And now, and is this going to be related to some of the charges and the information that has happened in Idaho, or is it totally related to anything possibly as far as criminal activities in Pennsylvania? Well, with the grand juries in Pennsylvania, they have a couple of different ways that they can be used, either as being indicted for a crime, or they can use it as an investigative tool, and which is it allows the police or prosecutors to compel production of documentary evidence and to force reluctant witnesses to testify through the powers of subpoena. And then, of course, as it says here, that those witnesses sometimes are granted immunity from prosecution. And I think more than anything, if this, it's probably a little bit of both worlds, that they may be looking at some activities that have occurred in Brian Kohberger's past in Pennsylvania, all the way up to the point prior to moving to Idaho, for the fact that certain items were bought and were delivered. If we go by the paper trail and the rumors and about purchases that were made online, as far as the knife and maybe even clothing that was used in the Idaho crime scenes. And so compelling the people that live within that residence where those items were delivered, they will, of course, say, because when a knife is or any item is bought online and it's delivered, each of us can look at our own delivery of how much we use all these online, such as Amazon Prime and things, that a lot of items comes to a resident, and one person's name would be on it, but it's used by someone else. That person buys it for them under their name and then delivers it to. And so there may be some clarification of what is going to be happening in Pennsylvania through this grand jury testimony to make sure that is someone else in that household have that item and still has that item, and is it totally unrelated to anything in Idaho. But that's what they're, I think, is one of the possibilities they'll use, is just getting clarification of what items were ordered, who had control of those items, and where are those items if anyone within the resident lays claim to those items. And but that's one possibility. But then again, it could be absolutely that there are other crimes within the state of Pennsylvania. Doesn't have to be homicides. It can be across the spectrum of any different type of many different types of crimes that could have been committed by such an offender as Kohberger, if he is the one that is responsible for these homicides. But and so we have to absolutely just look at that and try to understand what's going on. And then there's some other information that's been brought out. And as I was looking at this and looking at some of the charts, one of the news agency was interviewing a former FBI agent. Y'all know her when you hear her name. But she has some interesting charts that she put up today, and that I saw. And as I was prepping, I was looking at those charts, and one chart in particular stood out. And it is very interesting. And as you look at these charts, like I said, you can go out there and find them for people that understand Google search and everything about when people look up names and certain items and certain information about how often something is searched, trending or otherwise, that the Google search engine is a powerful tool. And you can see who is searching for you or for any other items out there if you fully understand this thing called the internet. But while I was looking at those charts, and I'll explain what I'm talking about here, is that, of course, the Google search suspect 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and of course, in 2022, the name would pop up as far as far more searches made for him at a certain period. But these are throughout the whole year. And even in 2022, I don't know how many Kohbergers are out there and why that name would be looked up. And Brian Kohberger suspect search terms would be looked at in that sequence. It is interesting. But you look at each of the peaks, and if you just simply count the peaks, like on this one here, of course, you have 7. The 2021, you have, it depends, you got a double peak there. So you have 6. 2020, you have a total of, looks like 9 there. And then when we get to 2019, of course, you only have, again, 6. But 2018, the activities and the peaks and the searches made in 2018 is why. Why would so much search activity be? And this stood out to me, and for this reasons that what could have occurred, that if this is Brian himself looking up if other people are looking for him, what did he do in 2017 that would cause this activity? Because it's far more activity as far as searching for him and his name. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons other than just nefarious criminal activities of why you might look up Kohberger as a suspect. He may have been looking for a certain job or something that would be terms used or otherwise. But in 2017, for him to be, or for someone to be looking up that name and that's those terms is very interesting, because you count them. I think there's, 4 or 5, 9, 12 times, 12 peaks in 2018, which is far more than any of the other months for each of the years. And I found that interesting. And so I'm going to have to go back and look and see what type of activities. Didn't have time today, and just now starting to feel a little bit better as I was telling some people earlier today on the that had contacted me, that hour by hour we slowly but surely are feeling better for whatever she gave me.
Blame it on me.
Blame it on Mrs. Steve. But anyway, But I did find that interesting. And like I said, if any of y'all have any information or any interest of what possibly could have happened in 2017 or how this Google search suspect is, information, absolutely send me an email, steve@truecrimeweb.com. I would appreciate it. And then another thing has been brought up about Dana Smithers, who was found when she had went missing in May, that she vanished without a trace. But and so you look at it, last year, almost a year to the day, of were of the mysterious circumstances of her disappearance, and people are, and the headlines are now that internet sleuths have linked it, and is that absolutely true? And from the information, it doesn't appear to me right now. We don't have anything that shows, even from the MO, but we don't know what his MO and what time period. And he has a solid alibi. May 28th of 2022 is what's been reported as far as Kohberger's whereabouts. Where was he at? Was he on? Was he moving? Is he buying gas at a station? Because right now, law enforcement says he's not connected. Is from what is reported. Now, will they look at it and make absolute that this alibi or whatever reasoning that they put and put all that weight on it that he's not connected? What and how is that information gathered, and what does it mean? And but this was when she first went missing, of course, of what she was wearing, and of course there's more information been brought out of her being at a friend's house and then going back home, or at least her phone showed back up at home at some point. How did her phone that she had previous in the evening get back home? Normally, there's really only two ways. Either she took it back home, or whoever is responsible for, if she died from any type of foul play, whoever would have committed such a crime would have to take that back. But when we look at the on the autopsies and everything, that they determine the remains belong to her, but the manner of her death is undetermined, which is extremely interesting because there's a lot of different ways people can pass. And of course, we have to look at all of those, see what her mental state was, see if she had crossed paths with someone. And they'll check. And if she had crossed paths, of course, with Kohberger at some point with a digital footprint, law enforcement would be able to look at the phone records and everything and financials and see if there's any of those connections. If they're not there, they're not there. If they're there, it's huge. But right now, we don't have anything that says that they are possibly related or any of that. So right now, I'm not leaning towards just being related, but that can be open. Like I said, in investigations, strange things do occur, and we just don't know. But with Kohberger, oh, that was a nice slide. That the source that says that Kohberger has a solid alibi, and so he's not. And what does that mean? If he has a solid alibi, then of course either he's on camera or he's seen by somebody that absolutely has the ability and the reputation to verify that his involvement doesn't exist. And he's never been named as a suspect in the Smithers death. And but that can change, and we just don't know. But like I said, as I was looking at and doing the research, the greatest thing of what stood out to me today, of course, is this. When I was watching that this morning and I saw the charts and I saw all the frequency of, excuse me, still having cold sweats and have fighting a cough here, guys. I'm sorry about that. But, like I said, the frequency of what happened in 2018 as far as him or someone, not necessarily him, but someone looking at him, and was it the family? Because family may have seen him change certain things or mannerisms, and I just don't know. But I think that there appears to have been something that had occurred in 2017 if it's related to him, and I'm going to look further into that. All right.
All right. Let me see here. Let me get catch up.
I appreciate everybody being here tonight, and like I said, I apologize that we're not feeling real well tonight, and just have to bear with us.
Okay, good. Carolyn and Ruckus is in the house.
Hello, Carolyn. Hello, Ruckus. Glad y'all are here tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay. We're going to start with a blue light for Jennifer Rochelle.
All right.
8 months of membership, and today's her daughter's birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy
There
birthday,
we go.
and thank you for your support and everything you do.
Absolutely.
Even
For
what you
me.
do behind the scenes, absolutely amazing.
All right, and then Miranda Lee.
Miranda, that's my favorite shirt of yours, Mr. Steve. Glad you and Mrs. Steve are getting better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Molly. Wow, of all those searches in 2018, interesting. Did he graduate or apply for a job right around that time? Does it say the days the searches were done, clumped up on a few days, or across time?
That is the whole year. They start off in January, and that runs all the way through December. And so that's each quarter of the year. And like I said, that stood out to me that there's something that started off, and there's a reason for it, and I don't understand it of what was going on, particular in 2018. And it may be a simple answer, but I'm going to look at it, and appreciate anybody's help that's willing to look at it also. Yeah, it's across the whole year, which far outnumbers any of the other searches that he did.
Okay. And 8, 17, 5. All right. And we're going to single mama 4. Oh my, did Kohberger unalived her, the Smithers?
I don't know, and I don't even know if it is something that is possibly, I don't know what type of medical issues she may have had. I don't know what type of mental issues she may have had. I have no idea, and don't know if it was an offender before the fact that they say her manner of death is undetermined, and so. A lot of different things could have happened, but I really don't right now. I have nothing that shows that Kohberger is related to the case, and other than it's within the state of Pennsylvania. And then we also have, like I said, there's someone out there saying that he has a strong alibi and he's not associated with the case. And law enforcement knows. We don't know, but there's no one in law enforcement now saying, yes, we are looking at it, and there is a possibility that I know of. If any of y'all have any reports out there, that absolutely let me know.
And this is from Sheila. Don't most have a type? If connected, she shares, and it doesn't supposed to say Xanax, it's supposed to say Xana features. For that, I don't think it's connected.
That, yeah, and I can see where that would be. I wish I had those two slides together. But the age difference, of course, she's 45 versus in early 20s. But yes, I can see your point there that she does have some similarities. But I agree with you. I really don't think that it's connected. But they do have, and you're right, that if you look at Bundy, he absolutely had a type. He had a hairstyle. And a lot of times that is the case. And then you have other offenders that they don't. They're out for whatever reason, and whatever drives their fantasies as far as a victim. It's across the board.
Okay, and Kamala.
$5. Question: are family members common as an alibi? I would think yes. And I was sick last week. Y'all get well soon. I'm sorry. Mrs. Steve is a super spreader. She got you sick over the internet. We'll blame her with it. But yeah, yeah. But I'm glad you're feeling better, or at least I hope you're feeling better. And but yes, family members often, but law enforcement doesn't give a lot of uh, you know value when a family member, especially a mother, says, "Oh, they were here, my son, my child," and a lot of value, or that that's a really strong alibi. Sometimes um, uh, they will step up and do that, but law enforcement, like I said, we really don't. If that's the only one, that really doesn't take anybody out off a suspect list.
Okay. Trying to catch up here. All right.
My eyes. I've taken nighttime medicine.
Tonight already?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So if his head hits that, I'll just have to end it because I'll be rolling in laughter. All right, let's see here. I guess you can sleep downstairs, right?
Yeah.
All right. And for Molly at True Crime Web, has anyone been named a suspect in Smithers' death? Because a grand jury is being held, doesn't that mean the DA has a suspect?
Well, we don't even know if the grand jury has anything to do with the Smithers case. The grand jury has to do with the Kohberger um, and being called to testify. We have no idea why they're being called. We don't know what the circumstances are, other than they're being brought to talk about whatever their subpoena says, and we have to, um, surmise, is it totally just to what packages, information, activities, alibis regarding Brian, um, and what activities and that could have occurred prior to the crimes, during the crimes, or if there is a specific crime that might be investigated in Pennsylvania. We don't know. Just because grand jury is there and the YouTube world and the creators are saying that there's a possibility it's being related, has nothing to do with it. And only brought it up for the fact that there is a lot of people looking at it, and we don't know right now. But I don't think the grand jury. Now, is it a question that might pop up in there? I have no idea, because grand juries can ask anything they want to ask. And even if it is asking grand jury, it doesn't mean that's the only reason it would be there.
Okay. And SSS, or could he have been in another state? Wasn't he around the Idaho house in June of last year?
I believe you're correct, and that may be exact reason that he's on the road at that time, and that would be extremely strong alibi, because you can't be in two places at one time.
All right, and Sean has got a question off topic that I'll save to the end.
Okay.
All right, so Sean, hang tight with me. All right, and this is from Jocelyn. Why did they call his parents in if he's said to have a solid alibi?
Well, like I said, it may have something to do with just because there's a lot of things that's been relayed out there that occurred prior to Kohberger moving to Idaho. They could be certain cyber crimes or cyber stalking, who had access to computers, who was making contact and doing searches of Idaho, and possibly even social media of any of the victims that were the victims of the homicides that would be on the computer systems in the Pennsylvania household, and they would be calling them in to see who had access to those computers during those times, who would have done those searches, because there's a lot of different reasons that grand jury may be looking at it. And like I said, Kohberger could be committing cyber crimes, or there would be certain information that could be linking him to the homicides in Idaho of things that he did prior to the crimes in Pennsylvania. And they would want to clarify that if they could, and if they can use this grand jury as an investigative tool, then they will. Plus, it's been reported that some of the items that potentially was used in the crime in Idaho were delivered to the residents in Pennsylvania prior to the crimes. And they would want to know those items, if it is the actual homicide weapon, that K-bar knife was bought and delivered to the residents in Pennsylvania prior to the homicide, they would want to make sure that that knife still isn't or wasn't ordered for someone else within that household. And so they would be trying to find out that information. And even if there was clothing or shoes, like if he had some Van shoes that matched the shoe print in the house, who else might wear Van shoes and at the house? And if there's records of these items being delivered to the Pennsylvania house pre-crime, they need to determine where those items are. Was anyone else in the house had access to those items, or still have those items, or are they totally off the map, disposed of, gone? And Brian Kohberger is the last one that had them in his control, and he no longer has them, which is critical. It's huge, and that's why they would be trying to check with the parents to make sure that he is the one that holds the key information about those items.
And Jennifer Rochelle.
Super sticker. Thank you.
Golly.
Yeah, we
I'm
both
supposed to do that at the same time.
Yeah, we both.
All right. And from Molly, do we know what year he worked as a security guard for the school system? Maybe he was searching for.
Due to working for a scoop.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me.
That's interesting.
And it could be, but you wouldn't think it'd be continuously throughout the year. And because when you go for a job application, once you're hired, that should stop. But this was consistently throughout the year of why he was being searched. I apologize for coughing, guys. Probably talked too much, but this was throughout the year, and it was consistent and changed, and I just don't know why.
Okay. And from Susan, some say he may have left the sheath there on purpose. Your thoughts? I don't think so, since he said to have gone back.
I had, for the longest time, I was on the same thought that no, it was accident. He left it. But after I looked back at the questionnaire and the survey he did, and approached it from those last questions that he asked. What did you leave at? How did you leave the scene? Was there something that you done after the crimes? And there is that possibility that it is, and he was leaving a calling card that he was wearing gloves, and he had thought he had cleaned that sheath, and he was going to leave it I believe there is a higher probability of it now being left on purpose than I thought last week. But until I reanalyzed and looked at that survey and looked at it from a different perspective, I always thought that it was accidental, but I'm not so sure now.
And Susie Q, I bet he was checking his own status. Is that possible out of curiosity and fear?
I believe so. And that's why I say I'm so interested in what happened in 2017.
And Miranda, have you heard anything in the news about BK's sister?
No, I know last I'd heard about them, and I don't know if they're and will they be called to the grand jury. I would suspect they would be if it has something to do with computer access and during certain period and critical times and critical information. I would suspect that they would be called to the grand jury. I haven't heard, but I would suspect they will be.
All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. And the next one is lone pony. So the parents being called in would be for the alibi. If not, why call them in to testify?
Well, like I said, it's to verify who had access to whatever items might have been delivered that could have been used in a crime, such as a weapon, such as clothing, anything that has been identified that is suspected that Kohberger would have used in Idaho, that they're linking back to have been delivered to Pennsylvania residents. And they would want to see who had access to those items, where those items at, who they were delivered to, who accepted those items, and did Brian take them with him when he went to Idaho? Not so much for the alibi, but it could be for an alibi for other crimes in Pennsylvania. We just don't know the total answers to that.
All right, and lone pony we just did. And what is Kohberger's other sister's name? One is Amanda, and the other is.
Oh, I couldn't tell you right now. No,
we have to dig for that one.
Yeah,
Mom.
the medications are getting me.
Uh-oh. You got a few more. Can you hang?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is priceless. And from Dave, does this mean everyone at the local Waffle House is sick? No, we've stayed home.
Yeah, we don't want to shut
down.
Yeah, we don't want to shut down a Waffle House.
No, shut down that. All right. And from Molly at True Crime Web. In a grand jury, are the jurors themselves allowed to ask questions of the witness? And can witnesses plead the fifth in a grand jury?
I know that in Georgia, yes, grand jury members can ask questions. You're sitting there and people raise their hands and they're coming from every direction. I don't know about in Pennsylvania, and it never occurred to me if someone was, but yes, I would imagine that anyone can plead the fifth at any point, regardless. Just because they say that you can be compelled to testify, there's certain times that the Constitution would probably override anything and everything. So I would think that the pleading the fifth is still viable. I don't know. An attorney would have to answer that, but I wouldn't be surprised if you could plead the fifth.
All right, and CJK at True Crime Web, what percentage do you think there is when a grand jury indicts but the DA won't prosecute?
That's pretty low number. I know that happened a time or two. I think it even happened with John Bonet, but it does happen occasionally, but it's a very low number.
And from Teresa, do members of a grand jury actually interact with the witnesses? Can they ask questions during the proceedings?
Here in Georgia, they can. I don't know about Pennsylvania, but here in Georgia, absolutely.
Okay. And history underfoot. I'm behind in the stream, so maybe already covered, but was 2018 when he published a paper or do his survey? That could lead to searches.
Now, I think it was later. I think that survey was done in 2022, about 5 months prior. But now he may have done another survey back then. But all these searches started in the early part of 2018. So I would look at what happened in 2017.
Okay. And from JoJo, do you think he was in the apartment before the incident?
There is a strong possibility of that. And I say that for the reason that at some point, one of his devices linked up with their Wi-Fi, and that takes proximity. And sometimes, even on your own Wi-Fi, you know, some Wi-Fi you can drive down the road and you're linking up with them, but sometimes you have to get within a certain distance. Now, law enforcement will have tested that Wi-Fi and see at what distances inside and outside the house would that signal be picked up at, and they'll know those measurements.
Okay, so let me cruise right here, and then I've got to get to Sean. So hold on 1 second. Let's see here. All right, so single mom of 4 says Melissa and Amanda. She found what she was looking for. That's good. Okay, so that one's taken care of. Perfect. All right, and let's see here. All right, so that's it. So let me jump over here to Sean's. This is going to be off topic, but this is good for you to talk about.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Stephen Chat, good to see everyone. When and where is your next mission?
I'm leaving next week, going to Pennsylvania, of course, carrying the rib bone to the lab for analysis to see if it's human or non-human regarding the Amber Crumb case. And then from there, I'm traveling to another state, meeting with a family, reference a cold case, and getting briefed on it, and talking to that family as I prep for another case. And after that, I think late June, early July, I'll be going to Iowa, reference Lyric and Elizabeth and the memorial on the Evansdale homicides. And
when is that? I missed it.
that's in July.
July.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so got a lot going on. And as we move forward, the case that when I'm that next week I'm going to be working on. I'll be on the road, and next week I'm going to make every effort while I'm on the road to create some content. We're going to go ahead and make the thumbnail, so just bear with me. I'll have some footage of as I drive through the country. I'm going to be in Pennsylvania, and I thought about looking at some of the Kohberger information while I was up there, but really the family and sisters and the mother and father, I've thought about it, and regardless, Brian is the person of interest, and I just don't know how fair it is to go after a family, and I'm not going to, and it's just my choice.
You got one more.
All right.
This is from Sheila. Will we know what was said and or shown from the grand jury? If not, why?
Well, normally everything happening in a grand jury is secretive and is maintained. Now, once that testimony is there, and if it ever comes out to be used in court in the Idaho homicides, then we'll know what it is. But until that point, no, I would imagine all of that's going to be held close to the chest.
All right. Blue light.
For y'all's next mission, $5 Kamala Norris. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank
Well,
you so
that happens next week, and I've already started making arrangements and reservations. So I'll be gone about 3 or 4 days next week.
Yep. All righty. You're good.
All right.
We're gonna call it.
All right, guys.
Leave that picture up there.
If y'all have any information, of course, about this case and these homicides, Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana, absolutely make sure they know. We thank everyone that supported us tonight. And if you like this video, sub, share, and give us a thumbs up. We appreciate everybody. I'm sorry that we're not feeling real well and everything, but
you just got a new member.
Oh, I got me a new member. Thank you
Look
for.
there.
Hey, Brandy.
Thank you, Brandy.
I apologize. I stopped in there the other day on her channel. If y'all haven't had a chance to watch her, she's on almost daily covering trials. Absolutely brilliant, and she's going to absolutely knock it out of the park. And stay tuned. Watch what she's going to do to the YouTube world. It's going to be amazing. And I enjoy. They even have shows at night too, and it's they call her the chart lady, and you'll understand. If you ever see her charts, you'll understand. Absolutely brilliant. But anyway, want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And like I said, next week I'll be on the road, but I will be trying to keep everybody abreast of what's happening. And y'all stay safe out there, and see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Love y'all. Thanks, mods.